Hey, welcome to the interview portion of this week's podcast. I want to welcome back John Anderson from Soaring Penguin Press. John joined us last year, maybe the year before. Can't remember if you were one of my lockdown catches or not, but it's nice to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you too.
And John has brought with him another Anderson, but I've just been reliably informed no relation is Chandrama Anderson. So Chandrama so we're all here to talk about I Do, I Don't, which was put together by Chandrama. I am fascinated by you, Chandrama. Like your background is fascinating, and as a result, what an incredible comic. Do you want to tell us a wee bit about it?
Well, I have been a couples therapist since 2007, and I woke up one morning in April of COVID 2020 and just thought, it's time to write a couples book. How am I going to differentiate it? And so the things that became really obvious to me to stand out from the 70,000 plus on Amazon was to do a graphic novel and to bring the mom and dad voices that are always talking in our head and put them on the shoulders of the characters so the reader can see, and also to put the unconscious voice down underneath. And so we're all driven by these voices, whether or not we're aware of them. And the graphic novel was the perfect opportunity to bring all that to light. I was really fortunate to find my artist. His name is Nur Jaffar G, Latip, and he lives in the Philippines. And he's 28 years old now. And he says doing this book has changed his view of relationships, and he looks at his family very differently. It's just been a thrill, all of it. And working with John has been really productive and fun. And he totally gets it that this is a mass market book that can help everyone. And it's not just for married couples. It's for couples, it's for coworkers, friends, kids, everybody. So I'm just so excited to get these tools out into the world and help people have better relationships.
Amazing. And how did you find that? I think the idea, because obviously couples counselling is such an individualized, or my experience, well, not my experience, but my understanding. Couples counselling is more about it is very, from couple to couple, it changes. You know, the issues and the emotion and the contributing elements from each side of of that couple, of that relationship, are so vastly different from relationship to relationship. Is that something you find quite challenging for you?
Well, it is true. Everybody comes with their own baggage. Everyone comes with their own issues. Everyone comes with their own hopes and dreams. And so in a session, I'm addressing directly what they want to talk about and what they need to work on. All of the tools that are in I Do, I Don't work and are kind of an essential foundation to work on any issues, any background. So people need to know to use I statements and not you statements, whether we're talking about in-laws or money or sex. And so that's why these books, and there will be a series, are so essential. And no matter what, this is clinical jargon, but theoretical orientation the therapist uses, these are the foundational tools for anyone.
I mean, that's interesting. So, how did you find the comics writing process? So I'm a writer. I kind of write, but my stuff's very sort of, it's superhero, it's action orientated. It's so I had never considered until I started the podcast, at least, the idea of the comics medium being used for different effects and for different purposes. How did you find putting a comic together as a process?
It's been very interesting. I started out doing research to see if there was a market for this. And I found information on Publishers Weekly. I contacted the author. He became my very first mentor. He said, when you find an artist, make sure they work in layers, which at that time I didn't even know what that meant, but now I do.
Yeah.
So this was really helpful, and it's been helpful to John because things have been a little bit easier in the editing process. The first artist that I had was a woman in the United States, and she realized pretty quickly that I didn't know how you write for a graphic novel, and so she sent me some examples, and then she fired herself off of my job, essentially. She said she didn't think she was the right person. And I think she just thought it would take me a while to figure out how to write basically a screenplay, which is what you have to do for a graphic novel. Yeah. So I pouted for 24 hours, and then I went back on Upwork to look for a new artist. And I found 6 different people, and I asked them all to create the exact same page so I could compare apples to apples. And then I, with my mentor's input, picked Nur. And he has just been absolutely phenomenal. So everything to him I write is in italics. Everything else is just in regular type. So he knows what he needs to do. And I went through 105 no's to agents and publishers before John said yes, which I was quite thrilled with. Yay. And
that's incredible. I want to talk to John about that aspect as a publisher as well. But that's amazing, and that shows such incredible fortitude and resilience by yourself. I have applied for 3 jobs, with finished work. I've sent it and have been turned down 3 times, and for like an anthology or an art project, and I find that rejection really hard, to the point that I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore, and that's 3 times. So 105 times is pretty amazing.
I have a background in high tech, and I was in computer sales for some years, and you get told no a lot. And I learned that every no is bringing you closer to the right person who's going to say yes. And so that's kind of my attitude about it. And it's so important to me to get this information out into the world. If people have better relationships at home, they're going to bring better relationships to work, to school, to communities. And it's dropping a pebble in a pond, and hopefully we can have better communication among countries and political parties and whoever. When people are unhappy, they bring their unhappy everywhere they go. So I want to help, and I can only help a few people at a time in person, and I can help anyone around the world with these books.
That's incredible. I remember, was it in sort of that discussion about that sort of being turned down for a role. So I spoke to one of the contributor editors at a convention I was at last week about something. He actually wrote me a really nice letter when he said, I don't think this is for us at this moment in time, but please keep sending us stuff. I spoke to him about it, and I was like, I really was really like humbled by like just the I know that's not always the case, but I was very humbled by your response. I felt really like I felt like you'd actually read what I'd sent in, and you'd thought about it before you got back to me. It was like, yeah, like when I read it, it was like it wasn't it was not we were not ready for this at this time. He was like, and I think that's the kind of what you're thinking. You're saying like people will have read what you were doing and will know what you were trying to do, but just it took till you got to John before John was like, this is what we're looking to put out there. So that's incredible. How was that process for you then, John, when you came across this?
Well, it was sent in through the submissions email, and I read everything I get as a submission, which is why it takes me so long sometimes to get back to people. And I opened it up and started to read it, evaluating the story, evaluating the book, and it made sense. It made immediate sense to me, and I could see that there was merit in what Chandrama was putting down. But the presentation by both Chandrama and Nur. His artwork is very open. It's very readable. It's not flashy. It's not style. It's in the best sense of the word. It's competent in that he doesn't let the artwork get in the way of the purpose of the book, the purpose of the graphic novel. That's brilliant. It's good of him to recognize that he needs to present the material best. And yes, so you can see from the pages, as I say, it's not flashy artwork, but it's confident. It's very professional. So it's readable. It's interesting, and you can immediately take on board what Chandrama is trying to say, and how you can apply it immediately to your own life. And then after several pages of reading this, I thought, okay, sure, this would be good. It's a departure, no question, but I was interested in this and excited to get behind it and see if it was still available for publishing. And turns out it was. So
one other thing about the art from Nur is his capacity to show facial expression and body language is really phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And it's my understanding from other artists that it's very difficult to show the same character with many different facial expressions and still look like the same character. That's very difficult, and he's fantastic.
What separates the professionals from the amateurs, really, is the ability to maintain character from panel to panel. It's one of the first things that they try to train artists when you go through various courses. Train them to do is to be able to maintain the character regardless of the situation, regardless of the emotion being expressed. Because otherwise, why bother?
Really hard, man. For this year's, like, I'm not trained in any way, shape, or form, but for this year's Brewgooders anthology, I did a 4-page story, which is just two people sitting in a cafe having a conversation. Mm-hmm. And it's hot. Like you said, because there's so much you have to think about. You have to make them look like the same person every panel, And but then also you still have to be quite dynamic. Like you were talking there about Chandrama. You were talking about sort of body language in that as well, because you can't just have the same. Even though they're arguably two people sitting in a cafe are not going to change body position and all that often, but it would make a really bloody boring comic if they didn't. So it's about angles, and so I certainly didn't get that impression. I think the art in I Do I Don't not detracting from the story at all. It's really like John says, really professional, and it doesn't detract. It doesn't take anything away from the story, or it doesn't distract from the story. Or the discussion.
It adds to it.
Discussion. Yeah, it does. Absolutely does. So I could talk about this forever, right? Because it's that good. And I've just said to you both that I'm when it gets closer to release time, I will be reviewing it. But and reviewing it very favourably, I might add. So spoilers for a future review. I wanted to ask just about like the release schedule. What have you and I hadn't realised until you'd mentioned it just there now, and I took a note that it is going to be a series. So, do you want to, what is the future of I Do I Don't then?
At the moment, I'm thinking of at least 2 more books. I have a lot of tools that are useful for people, so at least 2 more, maybe 3 more. And I want to kind of continue in the same vein. So one might be called Right, Wrong, How to Build a Better Relationship. The next one might be called Good Cop, Bad Cop, How to Build a Better Family. So keep the branding going and just keep bringing tools out to the world to help people. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Meanwhile, I've been approached by another publisher to write a non-graphic novel book on attachment theory. So I'm in conversation about that. And what I wanted to also tell you is I knew when I was 12 that I was a writer. And it's taken till in my 60s to kind of have this big world accepting what I'm writing. So I have other books I've written that I self-published. I've been writing a blog for probably 12 years, 4 years on my own website where no one goes. And then for the past 8 years,
what's that blog? What's the link to that blog?
That one. Yeah. So Embarcadero Media in the San Francisco Bay Area picked up my blog. It's called Couples Net, and I've been writing for them for the last 8 years. So it's been a really long time since I was 12 till my writing really was getting out to the world. So hang in there, Jeff, with your own stuff. Keep going.
I think that's amazing advice for anyone. And I'll pop up that link in the description for the episode as well. So John, the editor, publisher in chief, what's your next steps when it comes to I don't?
Oh, okay. Once we get the book together, get it to the printers, and then we start mentioning it, advertising it, getting appearances on podcasts and into various interviews, get reviews, and really push it in the run up towards the actual publishing, the actual release date. As I say, early November. Well, we want to get the book out in time so that people can pick it up and have it immediately to hand for the Christmas, Hanukkah, internal family strife season, so that everyone can go, well, let me just check my book.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to mention is that John Kilcullen, who's the founder and CEO of the For Dummies series, wrote the foreword to I Do, I Don't. And he's quite taken with the book, and I'm very excited. I'm really glad to have him as part of the project with me and John and Woodrow Phoenix, who's the book designer and
shout out to Woodrow.
Amazing.
Kudos to Woodrow for sure. Yeah,
that's cool. Great, guys. So thank you so much for your time. I don't want to keep you as much longer. Was there anything else? Anything else you guys wanted to plug? Any websites you would recommend anybody that's interested in the product check out, or anything from Soaring Press?
Go ahead, Chandrama. Go ahead.
They're welcome to go to my website. They can just put in chandramaanderson.com. I have another name for that domain, but that'll get them there.
Amazing.
And then they can provide their email address, and they'll be receiving updates there, I think. Yes?
Yes. And there will also be a free companion workbook to go along with the book.
Oh, incredible. That's really cool.
Yeah. I mean,
awesome, guys.
Within the book itself, there are putting it into practice. At the end of each chapter, there are a few lessons to go through to reinforce the lessons, the tools provided in each chapter. But we've agreed that we need something a bit bigger, so we're working on that as a downloadable PDF.
Right. It's amazing that just hearing all that, the different aspects of that, and that, obviously it isn't like anything else I've picked up and reviewed for this show, or going to review for this show. And obviously I know that's something that John's echoed sort of before is like, this is not something we've done before. I think it's very brave. I think it's really exciting, and it's going to change lives. So absolutely, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a wonderful quote from the National Institute of Health, and they talk about the comics medium as a way to reach people both through words and pictures and to bring out emotional content. So there is a subgenre of graphic novels called graphic medicine. And my second mentor said, well, you've created graphic therapy, but nobody knows these terms of graphic medicine. So we just call it a nonfiction graphic novel.
Yeah. That's
right.
Sorry, I did lose you for a second there, guys. So that's thank you so much for joining me. I'm very conscious of time. I'm also very conscious of taking your time. But please stay in touch. Please offer updates, and I'll be in touch with John anyway. But thank you so much for joining us, and have a lovely whatever you're doing for the rest of the day. It's currently like 7:00 here, 7:15. I think you guys have got a full day ahead of you, so.
We do.
Ahead of us, yes.
Have a good day. Nice to meet you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Nice to meet you too, guys.
Talk soon, John.